Thought I would share the faith in action with you today, and I see some people missing. They told me they were going to be here. What happened? Just because the pastor's away doesn't mean you can skip church. Why am I telling you that? You're the ones that are here. So thank you for being here anyway. I want to tell you a little bit about how something I did this past week which was to connect to the clergy gathering back in Texas this past Monday and Tuesday, which was an opportunity to both have learning and incredible fellowship. Got to be with a lot of pastors who had been through some really hard times down close to the coast, and a lot of people were affected in so many different ways. I had heard there were over 70 churches back in my home conference that had some kind of damage. Some of them are meeting long-term elsewhere. They're unable to use their buildings while they're cleaned. I think 28 pastors got displaced from their homes as well too. So a lot going on. So continue to keep Texas and Florida and Puerto Rico and Mexico and the West with the wildfires. There's so many situations of great need, and I know you'll be lifting them up in your prayers. I also had the opportunity to have some learning experience from one of my favorite mentors, the Reverend Mike Slaughter, who recently retired after serving a number of years at a church in Ohio. When he was young and out of seminary, he went to a small rural church, and they told him if he just did the job there for 2 or 3 years, they could get him into a town. Amazingly, he spent his entire ministry there until he retired this past year, and the church, even though it's still located in a very isolated area, became a very strong church with between 4,000 and 5,000 people worshiping in multiple campuses every Sunday. So an incredible story of what he's done. His name is Mike Slaughter. It's right outside of Dayton, Ohio. And I've made many trips up there as part of my learning experiences years ago, particularly from 1996 to 1999, where I was up there a whole lot in a training program. Thought I would share just a couple of things that really can hit home to us. First of all, he said one of the things he sees changing a whole lot is that people get connected to their faith by participating. This is a reversal of the way I was trained. I was trained, you lead people to the Lord, and then you encourage them to get involved and do something, get involved as in serving. And more now we see the opposite, that people who haven't yet decided what they believe will respond to an invitation to serve. I have mentioned this before, but we who've been in the church a long time really forget that, and we forget to invite people just to come and do something. There are people who will not come to church if you invite them, but if you invite them to come serve, they might consider it. So don't forget that. Please don't forget that. He also talked about the fact that every church needs a discipleship path. How do you get people from one step to another? And reminded us that we have seekers, people who are just here checking things out. We have consumers, people who show up for benefit, but that's it. People who are volunteers, they will share some time. People who are servants, who don't just share time, but they are beginning to live out their calling. And then you have leaders. And most of us don't jump all 5 steps. We jump 1 step at a time. So we move from being a seeker to a consumer, to a volunteer, to a servant, to a leader. As we think about how we are connected, think about yourself, think about the people you see around you. How can you help them to move? How can you share your story with them? I'm so delighted to be a part of the Mount Pleasant United Methodist Church today. My plan, if it works out, is to be worshiping at the St. Paul's United Methodist Church in Houston, Texas. I'll bring you back some stories after I do that. Thanks to all who keep the ministry of the church going on the times when I'm out of town. God bless.